vamos hacia nuevas coordenadas.
Mensajero llamando a monos. ¿Me copian? Responda.
Aquí pasan cosas más graves que eso. Está pasando algo mucho más grave.
Hoi, ik ben Lauren van Cineville. Die er allemaal weer zijn voor de vierde viewing party inmiddels. We hadden net wat technische problemen, dat hoort er ook bij in deze tijd. Maar ik ben blij dat ik er zelf ben. Ik dacht even dat ik jullie vanavond niet kon hosten. Maar gelukkig, we zijn er. Met weer een alternatief voor gezellig samen in de bioscoop zitten. Want dat vinden we natuurlijk het allerleukst om te doen. Ik kan inmiddels echt bijna niet meer wachten. Ik zit zelfs bijna te wachten op alle gekke scenario's van heel ver bij andere mensen uit de buurt zitten, wat me totaal niet gezellig lijkt. Maar als het maar kan betekenen dat ik me kan onderdompelen in een andere wereld, dan word ik daar heel erg vrolijk van. Zoals jullie misschien wel weten, zijn we voor onze pashouders in deze gekke tijd Vitamine Cineville begonnen. Om jullie wat vitamine-injecties te kunnen geven als jullie het hard nodig hebben. Het is een online platform waarop we een selectie echte Cineville-titels hebben gezet. Waaronder Monos, die we zo direct gaan kijken. Er komen elke week nieuwe films bij. Maar goed, die kijk je dan dus wel in je eentje. Heel saai, zoals ik zo met je poppendom thuis. Niet echt een party. Maar omdat we toch het gevoel willen hebben dat we een beetje met z'n allen samen aan het kijken zijn, hebben we deze viewing parties gestart. Met Q&A's met de makers. Vandaag bellen in Alejandro Landes, de regisseur van Monos. Die belt in vanaf New York. En Jasper Wolf, die de prachtige beelden heeft gedraaid. Dat is een Nederlander en die zit gewoon in Nederland. We gaan straks een Q&A met ze doen om 10:00. Maar ik ga nu eerst even het saaie technische gedeelte vertellen. Je kan de film Monos alleen kijken op Vitamine Cineville. Daar komt zo direct een URL voor online of op een van die slides te staan. Daarvoor moet je een Cineville lid of een Cineville lidmaatschap hebben, lid van Cineville zijn en een Vitamine Cineville account hebben. Als je dat nog niet hebt, dan is het een beetje jammer, want dat kunnen we zo snel voor je niet regelen vanavond. Maar voor de volgende keer kun je dat dan wel worden, lid van Cineville. En daar steun je dan ook meteen de theaters mee. Want 90% van jouw lidmaatschap gaat naar de theaters die bij ons zijn aangesloten. En die hebben het momenteel heel hard nodig. Dus als je zo'n steuntje in de rug wil geven, dan kan dat. En dat gaat via cineville.nl. Maar als je dus wel lid bent, dan ga je naar Vitamine Cineville. Kijk je de film. Als je nog geen account hebt trouwens, dan kun je die ook aanmaken. Dan vul je gewoon je pasnummer in bij voucher. En dan maak je een account aan met een wachtwoord en je e-mailadres. En dan kan je zo de film kijken. En dan straks, als we de Q&A gaan doen, dan kan je vragen stellen via de comments. En dan zetten wij die door. Maar als je zelf ook in zo'n leuk televisietje wil, net als ik, inclusief alle technische problemen, nee, zonder de technische problemen, dan kan je inbellen via Skype. En als je een Skype-account hebt, gaat dat heel makkelijk. Dan voeg je ons gewoon toe. We heten Cineville Skype. Maar je kan ook naar de URL gaan die in de beschrijving van de livestream staat, die je nu aan het kijken bent. We hebben 2 gasten. We hebben 3 kwartier, een half uurtje, 3 kwartier. En we hebben hopelijk heel veel vragen. Dus we kunnen niet garanderen dat jouw vraag er doorheen komt. Maar daarom stel ze heel scherp. Hoe leuker de vraag, hoe groter de kans dat we Jasper of Alejandro of allebei die vraag kunnen stellen. So a quick note in English for our English viewers. Welcome to the Cineville Viewing Party, Vitamine Cineville Viewing Party. We're watching Monos tonight, an amazing film. And we have not 1 but 2 people joining us for the Q&A afterwards. Director Alejandro Landes and DOP Jasper Wolf. You need a Vitamine Cineville account and you need to be a Cineville member to be able to watch the film shortly. And for the Q&A, you can either ask questions through the comments or call us through Skype. Just add us on Skype. We're called Cineville Skype. And then you can ask your questions directly live in one of these TV screens. So, Nou, Monos. Ik vond Monos echt een van de beste films van de afgelopen jaren. Ik heb hem gezien op Berlinale, het filmfestival van Berlijn. Wat hopelijk volgend jaar wel door kan gaan. Ik had een beetje een kater, maar dat maakte helemaal... Want dat heb je in Berlijn soms. Maar dat maakte helemaal niks uit. Want deze film is zo'n ontzettende trip... dat zelfs als je niet een kater hebt... dan word je er wel een beetje wazig van. Of ga je er in ieder geval helemaal in mee. Het is echt een te gekke ervaring. Verder denk ik dat ik er niet veel over ga zeggen... want het is een film die een beetje blanco in moet gaan. Maar ik wil er wel heel even over praten... met Suzanne Weijers. Dat is de programmeur van Rialto, een Cineville theater. Suzanne, ben je daar?
Ja, ik ben er.
Hoi.
Hoor je me? Hoi.
Ik hoor je. Hoe gaat het?
Ja, gaat supergoed. Ja,
Ja?
gaat heel goed. Ja, thuiswerken. En gek genoeg zijn we nog steeds best wel heel erg druk. Maar wel thuis, dus wel saai. En ik mis Rialto heel erg en mijn collega's ook. Dus, ja.
Ik ben wel heel erg aan het genieten van de teksten die jullie steeds op de gevel zetten.
Ja, tof hè? Ja, superleuk. Ja.
Welke staat er nu op?
Oeh, ik weet het even niet uit mijn hoofd. Ik weet het even niet uit mijn hoofd.
De volgende was van Portugelle en Vianfeu, geloof ik. Iets over
ja.
Mooi. Wat ben jij thuis allemaal aan het kijken?
Ik ben thuis wat screeners aan het kijken voor de komende maanden natuurlijk. Dus dat is gewoon mijn werk. En ik heb de afgelopen 2 weken de hele serie Better Call Saul gekeken op Netflix. Ja. En ik durf het echt bijna niet te zeggen, maar ik ben gisteren begonnen als allerlaatste op deze wereld met Breaking Bad.
Wauw. Maar je bent pas Breaking Bad gaan kijken na Better Call Saul.
Yes.
Heel moeilijk. Heb je ook al de film gekeken? Heb je El Camino?
Nee.
Nog niet. Die is dan next. Hey, even over Monos, want ik weet nog dat ik werk ook voor Imagine Film Festival. Toen hebben wij hem ook eerst laten zien.
Ja.
Iedereen was heel erg van, wat is dit voor film? En uiteindelijk heeft hij overal allemaal prijzen gewonnen. En heeft hij ook bij jullie volgens mij het heel goed gedaan. En ik was heel benieuwd waarom jij zo verliefd op deze film was geworden. Ik weet waarom ik er fan van ben.
Ja. Nou ja, ik vind het dus ook een van de beste films van 2019. Misschien wel de beste film van 2019. Ik vond hem waanzinnig mooi. Het is een soort magisch realistische film van een ongekende schoonheid, vind ik. En onder andere vanwege het bijzonder mooie camerawerk van Jasper. Echt te gek. De soundtrack is heel bijzonder en heel tof. En wat ik bijvoorbeeld heel tof vind, ik ga verder geen spoilers geven hoor, maar één ding wat ik heel bijzonder vind aan de film is dat het dus over een groep kinderen gaat en dat niemand de hoofdpersoon is. Dus dat wellicht de groep zelf de hoofdpersoon is, maar dat eigenlijk dat je toch als kijker ongelooflijk wordt meegesleept in die super fysieke aardse smurrie bijna, met de koude wind en de bergen en de jungle en natuur en water. Ja, ik vind het, wat jij net zei, het is echt een trip. En te gek gewoon. Ja.
Nou, daar kan ik echt helemaal niks aan toevoegen. Dus wel bijna, het is echt jammer eigenlijk dat je deze niet op een groot scherm kan kijken. Dus ik hoop dat iedereen thuis gigantische set heeft staan. Want je moet vooral inderdaad het geluid heel erg goed, mooi, diep,
hard.
Een mooie hard en diep geluid hebben voor die soundtrack van Mieke en Levi.
Ja.
Prachtig.
Zeker.
Maar ook voor de jungle geluiden.
Ja, zeker.
Ja. Ik ga natuurlijk straks een Q&A. Sorry.
Nee, ga verder.
Zo direct bij de Q&A krijgen we zowel Alejandro als Jasper aan het woord. Heb jij een vraag voor een van de twee of hun beiden die ik meteen even kan doorzetten?
Nou, wat ik me afvraag bij deze film, van waar ik net al aan refereerde, van ik heb de film nog een keer gekeken, omdat ik wist dat ik hier zou zitten vanavond. En wederom dacht ik, gewoon die omstandigheden waarin zij gefilmd hebben, gewoon die bergen, de jungle, de kou, de hoogte, de nattigheid, de insecten, de sfeer in die groep. Dat ik dacht van, dit moet echt een ongelofelijke tour de force zijn geweest om dit te maken. En dat ja, ik weet dat bijvoorbeeld bij Apocalypse Now dat daar heel veel verhalen over zijn, over hoe de opnames uit de hand liepen en allemaal juicy details. Eigenlijk ben ik benieuwd naar de verhalen bij deze film. Van hoe is dat gegaan? Ja, hoe is dit gegaan? Dit moet echt verschrikkelijk zijn geweest.
Ja, wie is er bijna dood gegaan? Ja. Wie wil dit nooit meer doen? Oké, dat is wel een goede inkopper eigenlijk.
Ja.
Moeten we daar meteen mee beginnen. Ja. Die zal ik doorzetten. En ja, je zegt van we zijn heel druk bezig. Ja. Rialto, ook gewoon achter de schermen. Is er iets waar mensen naar uit kunnen kijken als alles straks weer mondjesmaat of in zijn geheel open mag?
Ja, nou, waar ik zelf heel erg naar uitkijk, is in het najaar, dan blijf ik toch een beetje bij Rialto, sorry, maar is dat wij vooralsnog nog steeds een Kiarostami-reeks gaan programmeren met heel veel bijzondere films waar we... Ja, daar ben ik gewoon heel erg trots op. Waaronder de Koker-trilogie en nog een aantal supermooie films. Wow. En daar kijk ik heel erg naar uit. En ik hoop echt dat het gaat lukken. En ik hoop ook echt dat we voor alle theaters, niet alleen in Amsterdam, maar in heel Nederland, filmtheaters ook snel weer open kunnen. Want het is wel heel pittig dit, wat ons allemaal overkomt. Ja, het geldt natuurlijk voor iedereen, maar ja. Nee, maar daar kijk ik in ieder geval naar uit. Dat was je vraag.
Ja, ik kijk ook inderdaad heel erg uit naar. Ik denk dat er heel veel hele mooie retrospectieven aankomen. Want die kunnen ook gewoon doorgaan. En die bieden denk ik ook wat soort troost waar iedereen nu behoefte aan heeft.
Ja, zeker. Ja.
Klassiekers. Ja, te gek. En is er een specifieke titel of zo waarvan jij weet dat die uitkomt waar je zelf heel veel zin in hebt? Los van Rialto?
Los van Rialto.
Er is niks los van Rialto.
Even kijken, even denken, waar kijk ik heel erg naar uit? Nou, ja, even denken hoor. Nou, het is een beetje stom, maar ik weet eigenlijk niet goed meer wanneer welke film gaat uitkomen op dit moment. Dus ik ben, wat de reguliere films betreft, in totale verwarring.
Niemand.
Maar er gaat vast, ik bedoel, ik keek gewoon heel erg uit naar alle kamptitels natuurlijk. En normaal komen die in het najaar uit. En ik hoop heel erg dat die natuurlijk, deel daarvan toch wellicht nog misschien gaat uitkomen. Maar
laten we blijven duimen. Toch? Zeker. Weken op die duimen.
Ja, zeker. Ja.
Nou, super bedankt dat je even langs wilde komen.
Fijn. Ja, heel leuk.
Help je me even mee aftellen? Het gaat waarschijnlijk grandioos mis door de vertraging, maar dan kunnen we lachen.
Ja, oké, is goed.
Oké. 5, 4,
3, 2.
Yes, daar zijn we weer. We zijn terug uit de jungle gekomen. Ik ben blij dat jullie er nog steeds zijn, of weer zijn. Nog steeds Lauren van Cineville. Ik hoop dat jullie vol vragen zitten voor Alejandro en Jasper. Die bellen we zo even in. De Q&A begint dus zo. Het duurt ongeveer een half uurtje of 3 kwartier als er heel veel vragen zijn. Als je een vraag wil stellen, kan dat nog steeds ook via Skype. Wees niet bang. Het is een soort van live, maar je zit op afstand. Je wordt niet beoordeeld. Je kan met je hoofd in een scherm. Dan kan je inbellen via Skype. Je moet ons alleen even toevoegen. Wij heten Cineville Skype. Maar het kan ook via de URL die in de omschrijving staat. En dan kom je bij ons in de Skype room terecht. En dan zetten we je door. Maar je kunt ook een vraag stellen in de comments. En die zet ik dan door. So in English, welcome back. We're back from the jungle. Happy you're here still. So Alejandro and Jasper will be with us shortly. So if you have any questions for them, please put them in the comments or call in through Skype. Add us on Skype or Cineville Skype. Skype 3 times in 1 sentence. And then we'll make sure that you get to speak to them live. So yeah, let's see if both men are in the digital building. Hello, Jasper.
Hi, hello. Yeah, there was a small brain freeze. Hi.
It's okay. We'll blame it on the delay.
Cool.
Alejandro, are you there too?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Oh, lovely. How are you?
Good. You?
Good. You're calling in from New York.
I'm calling in from Miami. I had to leave. I had to leave New York for a little bit.
You flew. You're one of the few people flown.
Well, I got out in time.
It looks nice and sunny.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Good. And Jasper, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from home. I'm back in Amsterdam, and it's night. But yeah, no sun today.
No, really rainy today.
Yeah.
But you have some jungle. You both have some jungle behind you, which is good.
Yeah, we themed it up.
Good. I should have themed it. I didn't think about it, but good.
You're in Miami, so
yeah.
It's a little sweaty.
Yeah.
You tried. So how long since you two have seen each other?
I think in London was the last time I saw you, right? Yeah.
For our exactly, the BF5 for our British premiere, which was very exciting. Last time we hung out, no? But we've been speaking. I think we spoke 4 days ago?
4 days ago, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you speak about 4 days ago?
Life and cinema. What else is there to speak of?
Yeah.
Right. What are you watching now that you can't go out?
Yeah, I watch. I see a lot of pictures, to be honest. I watch films also, but I'm mostly watching a lot of photographers, a lot of books, art books. Yeah. And sometimes suddenly you get a film and then you can see it. But I have to be honest, the time goes so fast in this crazy time that it's not that it doesn't feel like some sort of a retreat that you just suddenly start watching all these films. Not more than normally, not more than I do. What about you, Alejandro? You just all the Tarkovsky films one more time.
No, actually, I've been writing. I've been taking advantage of the silence to write, kind of leaving the monos noise aside, and so I've been writing and reading. I haven't been reading some history, and I've been writing. Yeah, I haven't been watching as much actually.
That's actually good to know. I think we all would prefer to watch things on a big screen.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah. I do miss going to the cinema. It's like I do miss that a lot. I think it's the one thing I've actually very selfishly liked all the silence, but I do miss going to the cinema.
Same here. So you, Alejandro, you just said you're trying to get the monos noise out. So I'm sorry that we've just dragged you back into this story. I was wondering, maybe we should just start off with a question that I just had an introduction with Suzanne, who works at Rialto, one of the Cineville theaters in Amsterdam. And she programmed the film, and she asked the question that I think a lot of people would like to know is, knowing that it was such a challenging shoot, and of course it reminds a lot of people of Apocalypse Now. And I remember last time I spoke to you in you sort of described it as a beast of a film. So I think everybody'd like to know, like, what is, for both of you, the one crazy story that you took home and that you still think about?
Jasper, you want to go first?
You want to go first? Okay, I can tell I won't tell I will maybe tell something about the beginning. There are so many experiences, and we had like the jungle was amazing, and there was a lot of stories to tell. But I think in the mountains, when we just started out, but I think in the beginning of the days, we also have to find out the whole routine of how the shoot would go. So I remember that there was all this exercise scenes where we were shooting how the guerrillas would get into shape and would be drilled by the drill commander, by the mensajero. And these kids were really at the end of their limits already, with all the hard cold and the wind and all that. But because we pushed them in one particular scene where they had to go under all these wires it through the mud. I think something happened in the group that they overcame this. That there came this burst of energy in this group, and we took great advantage of it by shooting some moments that are actually also in the film where you can really feel what happens to a group dynamic if you have to overcome. And I think that's kind of one of those moments that we really felt that we did something together by pushing ourselves, and obviously also the cast to go into this place. So that was great.
Yeah, I remember that moment. I hadn't thought about that moment in a while. That is true, Jasper. I think that was a moment where the group really became a pack, and they, I think, having each other throughout that experience really helped make sure that when one of them was a little down, the energy of the others would lift them up. So I think that kind of like wolf pack energy and mentality really kind of carried this group of young people to do such incredible things. I remember a moment that Jasper and I were shooting in a very deep ravine. We were going to shoot the scene where Doctora kills Swede. And so we were there and we were prepping. It was a very hard scene with a girl who wasn't a very good swimmer. The temperature would drop very quickly. The actors had to choreograph their movements. And you're dealing with underwater camera. I mean, all those difficulties were very hard, apart from selling the moment where an adult kills a little girl. And so at that moment, there had been a lot of rain the night before, a tremendous amount of rain, and the actors and the crew were arriving into this ravine. And at that moment, one of our production assistants heard a noise at the top of the hill, and he yelled. And seconds later, there was a gigantic tree that had rolled down from the top after that heavy rain and fell right on the feet of both Rambo and our underwater photographer. And I mean, if it was just an inches one way or the other, it could have killed a significant amount of people. And I remember that everyone started shaking and crying, and it was like as if everything happened at the same time, nothing, because we went on and we were shooting by the end of the day. And it just made me think how fleeting everything is. And there was nothing we could have really done to avoid that situation. But at the same time, it reminded you that death was kind of close by, you know?
Yeah. And then going back to the location, the day after to still have to finish the scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rambo looked the tree in the eyes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah. That was
Would you do it again?
Yes. Yeah, of course.
I miss that kind of that dedication to purpose when you only have one thing, when there's only one thing on your mind. There's a purity in terms of just that. Of course, there's something very egotistical and selfish about it. But when you're making something with a group of people that are all on the train with you, and I think that is very exciting. That sort of single purpose in a group of people.
Yeah, definitely.
That leads me to asking you how, like, your relationship or the way that you work together. Alejandro, you said to me, like, yes, you remember a moment where you were in a helicopter and kind of freaking out and looking behind you and seeing Jasper and Jasper going, "We got this, we're good." Like, how do you? It feels to me like you had such a singular vision for this film, and then Jasper really executed it in such a way that it really came together. Like, how do you work together on such a almost emotionally driven project like this?
Well, I think it all came from the fact that we really concentrated on the pre-production of building that together. So the kids did a very extended pre-production to try to create that sort of bond, that brother and sisterhood that you see on screen. So during those weeks, Jasper and I would not only go and see the physical training that was happening and see the acting exercises and visit all of that, but we'd also go to this cabin and then sit down, and we would go through the shot list and the mise en scène and a sort of storyboard. So we had a wrong idea of what everything should look like, because we know we were going to face very uncertain conditions that are changing. So the idea wasn't just to execute our preconceived ideas, but to have a very strong identity beforehand, so that when we came, we could adjust relatively quickly, because particularly in the mountain, you were enveloped by under rain and then under bright sun in a question of 15 minutes. And so we had to adjust very quickly. But by having seen images together, discussed them, looked at photography, and discussed camera movements, I think that we were kind of prepared. And we also every night we prepared for the next day. No matter how big the day was, we would have our meal together and prepare for the next day. And then we would take the car together to the mountain, to the top of the mountain, or have breakfast together. Just shots of that day, as much on the top of the mountain, and you don't know what you're going to find when you arrive there.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was just like a big ongoing program. You're freezing up. Ongoing process, right? Yeah. But the pre-production was really key. A very enjoyable time in a very beautiful place, just to envisioning the whole film and then going into the real locations, and then just be able to be on the location and get to benefit from all the incredible research that Alejandro and in the script and had to offer. So there was like a whole very, very ideal way, I would say, to go into the film and to prepare together and to be able to be looking eye to eye in the moment and to try to create the film on the spot, as exactly like Alejandro is saying, from a very strong idea that was for a big part. There was a lot in the script and in the vision of how the film was in Alejandro's mind. But then one of the key elements was also that it should be a film which is very visceral and emotional and from the inside out. And for that, it was also key to be open to what the group had to offer us in moments. And I think we pointed out which scenes were more like in control, and on what moments of the arc it should go out of control, and that was where the camera could play a bigger role in operating, for example. But I always think back to the whole envisioning the film at the table and thinking about what we saw already in locations and all the stories that were in my mind, and trying to look into Alejandro's mind. That was a great time, and then we just started living the film, I think. And it was and the helicopter moment was like really special, because that was I think the last shot of the whole film. And and our spokespool was steering up because the wind of the helicopter.
Well, because we were on a real helicopter with a 14-year-old, and the doors open, and we were able to take the 14-year-old to a situation where, acting-wise, there was something very real happening, and the focus was very tight. And so when I saw what was happening in front of us, I looked back to make sure that we got that in focus. I think that's what happened, and so it was very high stress, because it's not easy to get a Black Hawk helicopter, and it's not easy to get a 14-year-old on that Black Hawk helicopter and us, and get that moment, and for that to be the final shot of the film.
That's amazing.
There's only one ending. Yeah.
We're getting some questions in from in the comments, but if anybody still wants to call in, don't be shy. I know there's 3 screens now, but we made a 4th this time, so there is space. But this moment that you're describing in the helicopter seems like it could have gone either way. And there's someone asking on YouTube, Gunjan is asking, were there any moments during production in which you really felt it was getting too extreme, and how did you bounce back from those? For both of you, I guess.
Well, it's a tough question. I mean, I think everything was very extreme. I mean, on the very first day that Jasper described, not only did the pack have to kind of overcome their physical exhaustion and different things, but I remember someone in the camera department had an epileptical fit, and we had to carry that person off the mountain, and they had to leave in an ambulance. So from that very first day, it was like that. And when you're up there at 4,000 meters and there's very little oxygen and the world is changing so fast, I think there was, in a way, we lost perspective because we didn't know what was normal, because there's no normal up there. But at the same time, again, it was the energy of a group of humans that are united for one single purpose, and the kids and the young people really carried that spirit. And I think Jasper had left his family, and so many other people had left their family. There was no Sunday, there was no calling home, there was no cell phone reception, there was no world outside of Mono. So everyone wanted to make sure that this universe we were creating was as strong as possible. So I don't think there was ever a moment that it was too extreme. I mean, I remember being carried out of the jungle because I just couldn't stand up. I had stomach pains, and the doctor thought it was a appendicitis. And I remember being carried out on the stretcher, and I started tearing up, but not because I was in such pain, but because I was like, look at this wonderful group of people from so many countries and places and faces, and just how are we going to align the stars and get them all here again? If I can't come back in 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to lose these people that are really like aligning the stars, and you don't align the stars that often. So, I think that was the only moment that I was like, maybe we were just going too hard for too long. But fortunately, I was back, and we were able to finish.
So this group of people that you keep mentioning, they were from all over the place, right? Denmark, Sweden, Spain, Ecuador, Colombia, all over the place. So Jasper, how did you end up on the set as a Dutchie? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I was lucky that I got introduced by a Dutch producer called Dirk-Jan Warring, that he was like going to be minority co-producer on the film. And he just spoke with Alejandro, I guess, and learned that they just lost their DP because they were postponing the film for financing reasons, I guess. And I was just lucky that he thought of me. And we just I read the script, and I was immediately completely taken by it. It was I never had read something that I liked so much and that I felt so much related to. And then I met Alejandro and Alexis, co-writer, and with really good energy. Alejandro invited me to Miami to come and to see how you would like each other in real life, and because, like I was saying, you're going into the jungle together, so making a film is like a relationship, so you have to be sure that you belong together. And so I was really, really happy that this connected, and that even it's just such a global art like cinema, that even Alejandro living in Miami, coming from Ecuador, living in Colombia, and Argentina, Alexis is from Argentina. Then I have to nuance a little bit. I think most of the crew came from South America, so I was with the focus pooler from the Netherlands. But we had a wonderful Mexican production designer that Alejandro already worked with, is from his team. She brought her Mexican team. We had an Argentinian sound recordist. We had a Danish visual effects supervisor, that's true. And in the post-production, it became even more global, I guess, the whole film. But the collaboration was really great. So, yeah, I think it was one of those things. I don't know.
Yeah. The camera crew was really small, right? There's a question from Milan on Facebook saying that he read that you worked with a lot of really fast lenses. And this is getting very technical. I wouldn't know. The Hawk Vantage 1 lens is T1. Yeah. Why did you choose to use
Yeah,
a
this is
lens
very
like
obvious
that?
answer that there, because I thought you were going to say you worked with very fast crew members. we worked with these lenses. Like when we started testing and together with Alejandro, also like envisioning the look. We were looking in the direction of anamorphic lenses because we like the feel of it and the way it portrays the characters and that. And then we found these T1 lenses, which I also like because they have this character where they can be open to T1 that makes them extremely light sensitive. So you could say fast in that account. They're very fast lenses in that account. So you don't have to use that much light. We wanted to shoot as much as possible with available light and just shape the available light and just be able. And also, what was the big benefit and what made us fall in love with those lenses was that you can play with the T-stop and make them even more impressionistic or dreamy, if you like. By playing with the T-stop, like something that an anamorphic lens, for example, also can do in an older state. If you open them up, the lens starts to fall apart and interesting visuals or emotional things start to happen with the light. And this was something that we liked about these lenses, that you can do a lot with them. And they were lightweight, so we could move the camera easy. And they were the production and had to be give them credits, and also Alejandro, because these were not cheap lenses and they were very hard to get. So it really had to fight to get them, but we were very happy that we did.
So you got to play around with them.
Yeah, I had worked on Porfirio with a Hawk for the anamorphic lenses, but I think Jasper made the right call here because this gave us a lightness and a sort of an ability to work in low light conditions that I think very much helped. And then we also worked on the color in Amsterdam. We worked with a Dutch colorist who's great, Laurence from Crab Salad. And so yeah, there's more than Jasper in terms of the Dutch contribution to the film. You know, Monos is Dutch as well.
Yay.
Yeah.
Hey, we have a Skype caller. Actually, several. Let me see if I can pronounce this right. The Korobiowski Bean family, plural, with a question for Alejandro. Are you there, guys?
Hello. Hi. It's us again.
Oh wow.
Hi. Thank you for the viewing party, and thank you so much for the film. These two had already seen it in the cinema. Yeah. And we just watched it for the first time. It was really an incredible experience. I really enjoyed it. I have a question about the rehearsal process and the casting of the kids. What did that look like? What was it like working with, I heard that there were many inexperienced actors. How did that work?
Yeah, that's the foundation really to the film. So it's a great question, and thank you. That family viewing, that's very sweet. What we did is we looked at over 800 kids throughout Colombia, and out of the 800, we chose about a little bit more than 20, and invited them to this sort of mock basic training camp. And in the morning they would do acting and improv exercises from pieces of the screenplay without knowing it was the screenplay. And then in the afternoon, they did these physical training that Jasper was describing with the man who would later play the messenger, who's actually a real life former rebel fighter for Colombia's main guerrilla unit. So they had a very intense schedule all day, every day. They slept in the same cabin. They kept the same hours. And by doing that, you would see what you would see in a house, in an office, in a school, which is who likes who doesn't like who, how does that chemistry work? And we started to think not only how each of them worked individually, but how they worked as an ensemble. And at that point, it was trying to, from the 80s, so it was like a sort of cinematic Big Brother experience.
you. I have a question as well. What advice would you give to a young filmmaker?
Well, first of all, I would say that try to listen to like as little advice as possible. I really think that, I mean, I didn't go to film school and I think it can be a great experience. But I just don't think that there's like a single road. I think reading is important because it leads to, I think, imagining worlds, not only things that are more tangible on the screen, but intangible. I think it's important to look at the physical world around you as much as possible. And I also think it's important to be okay with not knowing. Be okay with not knowing what it is exactly, what you want or where you're going to land. I think that's what's interesting about filmmaking. I think the idea of filmmaking in terms of just executing a preconceived notion or idea is exciting as being, let's say, a very informed and studied the movie discovered and so many things were new. So I think that's a very important message. I mean, I certainly don't film or political party, you know. I think it's like filmmaking is a conversation, and so in a conversation you shouldn't be the same when you leave it. Doesn't it make sense?
We missed some of it because
It's because Miami is really
did?
far away.
but what we heard was really good.
I'm sorry. I thought I was giving you the best I had. How's so? Can you hear me or not? Not really.
Yeah.
If you speak slowly,
Yeah,
that might.
Okay.
not quite a lot of it, right?
How much of it did you hear? I'm sorry. I guess it's just the whole world is on the internet, so it's a little tough.
Yeah, we
Viewing parties. Sorry, can you maybe speak a little louder?
It was good, thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, it's not so good.
Yeah. That's the way it is right now.
Is that
Should
it?
I try again, or can?
Maybe Jasper has something to add too.
Yeah.
Maybe then it'll give you some time for the connection to regain itself. Maybe you have some advice for cinematographers starting off.
Yeah, I think I want to add to what I think it's kind of the same what Alejandro is saying, is that I think one of the biggest things to learn is that it's about how you as a filmmaker see things, that it's maybe the most important and interesting thing to learn is that whatever you are as a person understanding or seeing or making. So I think the advice would be to make as much as you can and just to make films, even if they're small or even if they're with whatever camera. Like when I was growing up, it was a Super 8 camera. Now you can do it with your phone, or you can do it with whatever, with friends or alone. Or I think that's the thing. And of course, also there's so much to study in the process of making it. There's so much to learn from everything. And then I think the thing that I relate to as well, what Alejandro was saying, is that you should really try to be loyal to yourself, and not, if you're not agreeing with whatever advice, just try and make your own mistakes and just learn, instead of trying to mimic something that a lot of people are also doing. Or maybe that's not the most interesting. Maybe it's more interesting just to do something that you like.
Did you go to film school, Jasper?
Yeah, I did. I went to film school, and I think first I went to art school in And then I went to a film school in Amsterdam. And it's great because you're with a group of people and you can make films. You can make a lot of mistakes, and if you're lucky, if you have cool classmates, and you can just do it. And it's of course, there were many times that I thought, let's leave film school and just go and do your own thing. But it's also it's a luxury. You can just make a short film or 4 or 5 if you want. We went out when we just started going into that film school. Every opportunity I had, I just took cameras or light or whatever and just made stuff. So it's great. But on the other side, I love working with the directors that went totally different way, because they have like a very own way of looking at things. Maybe the flip side of film school can be, or of art school or whatever school, the flip side can be that you get condensated in a way of thinking. And it's I really like the free energy of people, that they stay very close to themselves. So that can also be somebody who studied for something else, or didn't study at all and just did something own. But so there's many ways, like Alejandro was saying. You just find yours. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Good luck with it.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Can't wait for your next film. Ever.
Thank you. Thanks.
Same here. So speaking of casting, there's a question coming in from YouTube that I really like, from Chris, asking whether there was a casting for Shakira, the cow, and how you got her up that mountain.
There was a casting for Shakira the cow, actually. And I want to spoil it, but Shakira's more than one cow throughout the film.
Oh, no.
And in terms of getting her up the mountain, you'd be surprised, but actually that area up there used to be before a cattle farm. So it was actually there. Now it's become a national park because it's such a delicate ecosystem. And so they're reducing the amount of cattle up there, but there was cattle.
And there was somebody else this afternoon that was quite upset on Facebook, saying he didn't like the movie for no apparent reason. And he was wondering if she was real.
Are we talking about the fiction, or are we talking about real life here? What?
The killing of the cow, was that a real cow? Was his question.
Well, basically, the real Shakira did not die, but there was a dead cow in the film, and that cow is basically part of the cattle farm that belongs to the area where we were shooting. So the people that own that piece of land that you see in the opening shot within the national park, they're kind of in a tough spot because they were cattle farmers, relatively humble financially, and now that it's a national park, they really want to take care of the area, so they're starting to do tourism, but the only thing they have to live off is their cattle, so they're still selling that cattle off. So basically what we did is we bought one of the cattle that they were already killing for their livelihood, and the kids took classes with the family how to butcher. And so the kids were actually doing real life butchering. And then they actually did something very beautiful, which is they themselves were the ones who did it within the time to make sure that the meat was still good. So that was a very quick shooting. And then they delivered it to homeless shelters and to old people's homes to make sure that the meat went to places where they really needed it. So that's kind of how it was done.
Great. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
You'd like to know. This cattle farm and all of the other locations, is someone asking on Facebook, Josse is asking, how did you scout the locations? Question for the both of you. How did you go about picking that piece of jungle, that piece of river?
By looking, right, Jasper? We went. Jasper actually came from the Netherlands. We went to do a couple of scouting trips, and we had other scouts going on, and I kept looking. I mean, we were really looking for places that helped us create that a temporal feel, places that feel very specific, but at the same time have that kind of fairy tale like quality. Places that break your notion of time. Is it future? Is it past? What is it? And so we looked a lot to create that in a place where, isn't necessarily South America, but also has something very endemic to South America. I feel like we were playing with that line because the film, the whole time, it's either between reality or fantasy, between and past. Between
I remember when you found, because in the beginning when we were scouting in the jungle, you had found this amazing mountain location called the Magic Valley, and then then we went. We figured that finding the jungle was hard, which it was, and then I remember when you found that the location that is now in the film with this amazing bunker, and how excited that of course was because of this.
Oh yeah, that was exciting. That's
that
right.
Place with this rock formation, like what is in the film. That was of course like beyond your dreams to find a location like that, and then with the mine, and then in the jungle. Yeah, it's also
it's a good story.
A beautiful story was that when we came back, we went to the jungle.
Do you remember? Do you remember how we found that mine? Do you remember we were walking around there? That's a good story. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, yeah. Oh, I wanted also to step over that one. I was already going into the jungle and how we found the one. But that's true. Yeah. That was like let's look into that hole, and then there was
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. We found these amazing rock formations above surface that you see at the beginning of the film that are actually a former cement mine. But while we were walking around, I saw a hole that looked like a rabbit hole, and I asked the guide what that was, and they're like, "No, that's just the mine that they closed up." And then I asked permission to go into that hole, and he had a flashlight, and we went down the hole, and there was this whole bunker system down there from the closed mine. And then we were with Daniela and Jasper, and we were like, we need to open up the mine. And it was kind of crazy for this small, independent film with very little budget to consider opening up a mine. But we opened up the mine. Yeah. And we were on the location, and we were like, it would be so great to have a window. Maybe we can have a window. And then we were like, we know that this is a bunker, right? So it's like a mine. So it's like had walls of a meter or like 3 feet of cement. But then this art director, like the assistant of Daniela, he was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And then when we came to the next time to location, there was this beautiful window just where we envisioned to have it. So yeah. They really made impossible things possible, which was crazy. But the story I wanted to tell, that was in the jungle when we found this beautiful location, and then we come under a final location visit for the crew. So we anxious to show the location, and then we arrive, and then this whole location is messed up and is like squatted by these local gold miners who are living in this jungle. And then we had this our location manager being so in the moment that he asked these people to start working for the production. And then we found a location which was actually maybe even better, right? With a big tree, which is so important in the film, like 200 meters further. So I think there's like all these kind of things happening in the film that you, these moments of luck, maybe if you like, or moments that you have to be open for, I guess, that it happens. So that in the end, and these people, these miners that actually squatted the location and seemed like a big problem when we arrived. There was this moment, 10 minutes or so, that everybody was kind of confused what to do, because we had this beautiful nature location that was completely smashed down. What they do is because they are living there with their children, so they want no animals, so they just hammer down all the nature, which was terrible for us, of course, but then finding a new location even further, and then our base camp, our military camp where the whole crew lived and the cast lived, that was obviously became that place. So the squatters became our production assistants. And they were a very important part of the film. These gold miners that had basically burned down what I thought was the best location, and in the end, it ended up being a miracle because we found something even better, and they became our friends, and they taught us how to live in the jungle and discover that river and really be there, and they became very close to us.
Awesome.
And the production designer Daniela Schneider, who did a great job and really used them and their know-how to build the world river.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think for a lot of people, a film like this is really welcome at the moment, where you're not allowed to go outside, and it's kind of so immersive. You feel like you've sort of gone on a very strange holiday. Wouldn't use the word holiday, a trip, I guess, especially with your stories. One last question from someone on YouTube asking about the whistle, Emma. Can you then maybe also do either of you know how to do it?
Which of the whistles then?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
Well, what we did was we looked at all sorts of rites of passage and little customs of different rebel armies around the world. So we looked at, for example, Russia's uniforms when going into Crimea. We looked at Colombian paramilitary and guerrilla groups. We looked at Afghanistan. We looked at Rastafari rebel movements. We looked at different things to really inspire the creation of this world. And that was one of them. That was actually something that comes from one of Colombia's main rebel groups that actually uses that as a calling. And so some things were within Colombia, some things were from Vietnam, some things were from different places, because what's interesting is much before the internet, the ideas of war already migrate. They know no borders, right? So it can be either mustard gas or it can be gunpowder. But ever since then, those ideas they migrate. And so what was interesting is how much of those ideas of different rebel groups were connected. So we created our own rebel group by using the iconographies of different groups all around the world, both past and present. And it was also interesting to see that there was already connection between them already.
How do you feel about this? People describing the current situation as a war?
I get a little nervous when people start using war, because war always means like a way to take away liberties, I find. It's they always use it to like raise a flag and start trying to beat up some level of patriotism, and that always starts getting a little scary to me. I think what's good about this war, if you can call it that, is that we're all in it together. So everyone's the world, even though the borders are closed in so many places, we're not. This isn't a war against any nation or another flag or another religion. This is we're all together on this one, which I think is there's not too many wars where we're all together.
Where we can do things like this.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that this also leads to more creative projects and writing and reading, and I'm really curious to see what you guys are going to do next. For Jasper, for you, it must be strange because you really can't do that much now. Go out and
you can
be
talk
on set.
to me. You can talk to me.
I talked to Alejandro. No, I can study and envision, but of course it's weird that you're always eager to make. To create, but now it's like, of course, there's also these protocols rising all over the world that people start to think about how would it be able to make films within a protocol of the corona disease, which is, of course, if you think of it, will change a lot of things. But so let's hope that maybe that will be a temporary thing, and then we will bounce back. But on the good thing is that. There will, and that was in the beginning, I think, for a lot of people, if you were not too worried about, because let's face it, for a lot of people, it's a really, really bad and worrying time financially. And if you have people with disease, but like if you're in the luxury position that they can just look on the bright side, it's a very good contemplation time, and there is very fresh air, and it's very quiet. And in the Netherlands was that from when it started like 6-7 weeks ago, I was in Norway for a project in the mountains, in the snow, and I came back in the Netherlands, and then from that moment till yesterday, it was just bright, sunny weather. So every day, although it was so crazy that we had to stay inside or close to your house, it was just sunny weather, beautiful sky, fresh air for this time of year. Could run outside along the river. So I think living in Amsterdam is not the worst place in the world to be in this situation. And then you can try to clear your mind. In my case, I have 2 kids, so I suddenly see my kids more than I have seen them in the last couple of years. I be a school teacher in the morning sometimes, being there. So trying to benefit from all the time that there is now. But of course, that will only take so long, and then you start to think like, oh, let's make films again. But still, yeah, it has good things and bad things, I guess. And I guess the good thing, I would not call it war either. I would think that is like a chaos, and that people get scared and they get worried and they get into this psychotic behavior. And let's hope that it keeps calm and that they're over worried, and that we can bounce back to more liberal and free behavior, but and make films like we do. Like a film like Monos, the good thing would be like we would have been in a group quarantine for just the process, so that we would not have any problem.
I think Monos was a quarantine. Making Monos was a quarantine.
Exactly. Yeah.
We would have come out of the jungle not knowing what had happened outside.
That was definitely the case. If we would go in at this moment, we would come out and then have learned that we were not allowed to leave the country anymore. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, but it was a special time as well when we were in the jungle. It was the time of the See ou Non, the big Colombian peace referendum was going on. So there was a little bit situation like coming out of the jungle and not knowing what the world had decided, or the Colombian world for sure.
Well, thank you. I think we're all out of time. Thanks so much for joining us in this conversation from all over the world.
Yeah.
And, I agree. Let's keep making films, watching films, and I hope to see you soon.
And see films on the big screen again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye. Have a good night, day.
Bye.
Ciao.